Hello there and welcome back to another video. The Premier League is returning this weekend after the international break, which, to be honest, the international break is great for me in different ways. Some people will love it for the football, but for me, I like to put a nice international game on, whether it's England, whoever it might be, whatever, and I'll set it up on my iPad or something like that just as I'm going to bed, and honestly, I have some of the best sleeps ever when the international football is on. Anyway, hope you guys are doing really well, and hope you're taking care of yourselves and just in general doing well indeed. Now, Liverpool are going to be coming up against Leeds, and it's not going to be the most straightforward game for a number of reasons. One, Leeds just themselves in general. Maybe they haven't necessarily kicked into gear just yet this season, but they are capable of it. They are very capable of it, being that high pressure, high intensity team. The team, basically the whole team, looks like it runs after everyone like a swarm of bees, which we can all relate to right now because the weather's a bit ridiculous, and bees, wasps and spiders, less so bees, you guys are great. But wasps and spiders and that are all over the place. That is kind of like Leeds. They are all over the place, but generally in a good way for them. Other reasons is obviously this whole thing with the Brazilian FA or the CBF. Now, I'm going to read you something from, I think his name is David Lynch or something like that. Premier League clubs are still waiting to hear if they will be able to play their Brazilian players this weekend. It would require the CBF to back down, but time is running out and many managers will have to select their teams for the weekend today, which is Friday. Now, our game isn't until Sunday, but team selections and that will start to take place. Klopp himself has probably already got a team in mind just in case. Or he might be just going, you know what, we're going to play on the side of we're not going to have our Brazilian players available, which for us, Bobby Firmino's injured anyway, so he would have been ruled out regardless of whether they're allowed to play or not. Fabinho, who is one of our best midfielders, and Alisson, who is one of the best goalkeepers on the planet. That does affect us. Now, the rest of the team should be able to play just as normal. I don't personally agree with it, like in the whole like Brazilian FA stuff. I understand where they're coming from, but can we not look at like the Argentinian contingent, if that is right? The guys that lied about like apparently being like, or lied on their forms or documentation about, you know, what countries they'd been in and violating COVID rules or whatever it was, and then also violating their own clubs, not releasing them. Well, they went out and joined up with the squads anyway. Like, isn't that what we were trying to avoid in the first place by not releasing players to red list countries? Because I think Fabinho actually did an interview, or had some quotes anyway, saying that he understands both sides. He understands the club side, but he also understands the national team side. However, if they had gone out, so if Alisson, Fabinho and whoever else, Rafinha, even for Leeds, had gone out to Brazil, then they would end up missing about 3 Premier League games, maybe more, depending on competitions that you're involved in, because you've got to quarantine when you come back. So I thought that was what, if you can't travel to a red list country, that's what I thought. I don't know. I think everybody needs to make their own minds up on it. I'm not a fan of it, obviously, and who would be? So what it looks like we could be going with is Kelleher could come in the goal as the goalkeeper for us, in midfield. So it looks like we've got options in midfield. It's just that we've got no one like Fabinho. We haven't got anyone else that's like Fabinho that can slot in. So you'd look like you're gonna, if we're gonna go with a midfield 3, which we most likely will be, you're looking at maybe Jordan Henderson. I think James Milner has also come back. You've got maybe Naby Keita, who himself had a knock at the door, had to pause it. So Naby Keita himself, when he was on international duty, had to, what was it? They were in like a military coup or something like that, and he paid for a flight or something. I think it was for him and his teammates, but don't quote me on that one because that's just what I read sort of in passing. Yeah, so like it's been a pretty dramatic international break for some of our players. Like it really has. So whether Naby Keita is going to be available, I would like him to be. And if he is available, we're going to need him. We really are. And I think it could be perfect as well to have someone like Naby Keita involved in the midfield against a team like Leeds that are so frenetic. combating the likes of Calvin Phillips as well, who's a very good footballer for Leeds as well. To take away what people might think about however he plays for England and such like that, he's a very good footballer for Leeds, and that system as well works really, really well. Very good delivery with his feet. You know, he's got good passing vision, but his defensive work is always pretty good as well, and his positioning is pretty good as well. So we've got a lot. I think Jurgen Klopp has made a comment of some sort, so I'll read that in a minute when I've just loaded it up. But we've got options anyway. We are not like, you know, I know that we're missing some of our best players. It isn't ideal, but it's just one of those where we just sort of have to get out and deal with it. So Jurgen Klopp says, I can say what I know. I don't know in the moment. We will see. There are meetings going on, which is true. I think the Premier League are having meetings as well with the Brazilian FA. They need them to step back. The thing I want to say about this is just let's look at the full case. So we all know we are in the middle of a pandemic, which we are, whether you believe it or not. I don't really care about people's views on it. We are still in the middle of a pandemic right now. That is the only thing that you need to look at. Which is difficult for all parts of life, and for football it was difficult as well. We have a few more games to play than we have to play usually internationally. We had a summer break where all of a sudden somebody organised again a Copa America, where they could have played the games, for example, without playing a Copa America, which they had a year before. But people decide, without us, these kind of things, okay, nobody cares. That's how it is. They play a Copa America, then they still have more games to play. Then a week or 10 days before the international break, we get, okay, we play now 3 games and the last game is on Thursday night. So we have nothing to do with that. Friday morning, by the way, Friday morning, 1:20 a.m. would have been Brazil against Peru. We have nothing to do with that. We cannot decide anything about it. We just read these things. Then we have to think, okay, clear, they are invited, but when they come back, they have to quarantine for 10 days. Again, it's not our decision. We didn't say they have to quarantine for 10 days. We didn't say you have to go to the national team. We can't say nothing. We just sit in between and we think, okay, what's going on? Our players, if they come back, then they have to quarantine 10 days in a random hotel next to the airport probably, which is not good for any people who have to do that. But for a professional football player, being 10 days in a hotel with the food they get from there, you lose everything. You lose muscle, you lose everything. And now the next thing, we have a football game to play again, and they tell us we cannot play our Brazilian players. It's like, what? So we did nothing. We didn't organise the Copa America. We are not responsible for the games they couldn't have played. We didn't invite players. We didn't say when they come back there's no exemption. We all didn't do that. But in the end, the only people who get punished are the players and the clubs, and we have nothing to do with the whole organisation around. It is like, what is happening? So I don't know what will happen at the weekend, to be honest. In this moment, we have to see what other people decide, and then we will again accept that, probably do what people tell us and try to win a football game. But the whole situation is really just like the whole world in the moment in a nutshell. In football, they have these problems as well. Yes, we have these problems, and now we will see who finds the solution. Brilliant comments from Klopp. Really, really brilliant comments from him. It really is. Because everything's just so much in the air, and I apologise for that. You know, I just wanted to read that whole quote from him, because I think that what he says, it takes a very measured way of whenever he talks about something like this that affects everybody, not just Liverpool. And I like it. I really do enjoy it when he comes out with things like this as well. He's quite clearly frustrated, as everybody is, because obviously we have a lot of Brazilian players compared to some other teams as well. Very, very key players for us. Take away the fact that Bobby Firmino would have been injured, and we do have people that can fill in these places, but it's not going to be necessarily the calibre that we're used to, the calibre that we can go into a weekend and trust that that is going to work, it's going to be okay, it's totally fine. It's completely out of the players' hands, and it was also out of Liverpool's hands. I think it was the Premier League that put the block on. It wasn't Liverpool, it wasn't Man City, it wasn't Leeds, it was the Premier League. And then when Tottenham players, or the Argentinian players, so one for Tottenham, I think, I might be wrong, Lo Celso, did he go? Emi Martinez from Aston Villa, whoever it was, anyone, you know, and they broke rules and stuff like that, and they will be fined and such when they return and whatever. It's just difficult, like, because the players have, as I said, players have no say. They don't have any power. Obviously now the clubs don't look like they have any power either. They've got no sort of recourse to be able to go, okay, well, we're going to play our players anyway. How can you ban us from doing this, that and the other? And plus, I know that national teams are important, but anyone that's watched this channel for any amount of time, me as an English person, I've never seen England as a priority over the club that I support, the club that I love. The players have a contract with the clubs and they are paid by the clubs. For me, the clubs should take precedent in anything that happens with the players they have under contract. That's my opinion, and I might be wrong in that opinion, or you might not agree with that opinion, because an opinion can't really be wrong much. Anyway, it can be, but it can't be. But that's my opinion. I think that the clubs should have a final say on it. Basically, they're only looking out for the players' safety and also the ability to have them available for the clubs to represent in big competitions like the Premier League, the Champions League, FA Cup, whatever. Anyway, going into this game, so we've done some of the lineup. We basically might as well go through the rest of it as well. Kelleher in goal is most likely what's going to happen here, because the decision from the CBF, the Brazilian FA, will probably come too late, where they're going to have teams set out anyway. So Kelleher in goal, I don't mind. He's been good for Liverpool whenever he's stepped in. As well, and I'm much more confident in Kelleher than I am Adrian, and I think everybody is as well. No offence, Adrian, but you've got a track record. Trent at right back, where he gets used properly in a team that plays him properly, not like Southgate. Now, centre back, I've got no reason really to change from Matip and Van Dijk. Obviously, Van Dijk being the guy that he is, he's just coming back and he's been brilliant. He's been absolutely brilliant for us since the season has come in. For me, I'm going to go Tsimikas at left back over Robertson. Nothing against Robertson, but the first two games that Tsimikas played for us, he was absolutely fantastic. Robertson didn't do much wrong against Chelsea. He didn't really put much of a foot wrong, but neither did Tsimikas. And I want to see a bit of competition building between these two as well. It's competition that Trent doesn't have, and I'd love him to have it. Someone like Tsimikas at right back that Trent could have competition with. But we've got it at left back, and I think we should use it. We've got two strong left backs. For me, in this game, I would want to see, Tsimikas on that left-hand side for this game. Let me know what you think of that in the comments below. Some people will disagree, but hey, that's what we're all about. It's opinions, and that is, we're free-thinking people. Anyway, we get into the midfield. Basically talked about that before. Anyway, I think it'll be Jordan Henderson as captain, Naby Keita, and then the third person is the one that is the big, it's the big call. What is it? So we've got Henderson and Naby Keita. Who could be that third person? Could it be someone like Curtis Jones? Some people will turn their nose up at that and say, no, we need to put someone else in. So then if you put a James Milner in midfield, people turn their nose up at that as well. You can't really win. For me, if he was fit and firing, I'd actually put Oxlade-Chamberlain in there. It doesn't look like a very defensive midfield. It doesn't, and you're right. But I think it also gives you a lot of energy, a lot of technical play, especially from Naby Keita, a lot of drive from Naby Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain, and power from Oxlade-Chamberlain in particular as well as the leadership and defensive role that Henderson can play as well. While he doesn't prefer playing that, he can play it. The only other option there would be to switch the roles of Naby Keita and Jordan Henderson and have Naby Keita being the guy that sits a bit more but is able to progress the play by running forward, looking for other midfielders, and his ability to spot a pass and his vision as well. That could be something else that we do. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And then the front three basically speaks for itself. Jota had a brilliant time on international duty with Portugal. Salah as well speaks for himself, and also Sadio Mane. Now, while I think on, Takumi Minamino is also injured, so he can't be available for this game, which is a shame because I like him as an option. However, I have just remembered about Harvey Elliott, who came home from under-21s duty, I think, for like a knock or a slight injury. Apparently, he's going to be A-OK to play. So, with that in mind for the midfield, let's go back to the midfield just for a second there. I think that Harvey Elliott has done nothing wrong in Liverpool games. For the most part, he's looked one of the brightest players. For me, he was man of the match for Liverpool against Chelsea. His running, his inventiveness, his ability to hold players off while being such a slight player. I say slight player, and also being a young player as well. He seems to have taken to playing with Liverpool really, really well. And I don't want to say easily, but he makes it look effortless. He really does make it look effortless, and it is fantastic. He is another option as well. I would probably go for Harvey Elliott over Oxlade-Chamberlain. No offense, Chamberlain, but Harvey Elliott is one of those guys that he looks like a guy that can take the press from Leeds, and they can press from all sides, and he's able to move through it, maneuver himself through it or look for key passes. That is someone that you need, and I think Naby Keita's capable of doing that as well. And having those two in a midfield could be really, really good for Liverpool as well. And then obviously you go to Leeds. If this whole Brazilian ban is held up, then Leeds are missing a key player as well. While it might only be one player, it's a big player for Leeds. Rafinha, the Brazilian winger that Liverpool have been linked to over like the last season or two as well. He's a brilliant player. He really, really is. And Leeds don't deserve, just as much as we don't, and other teams like Man City as well, they don't deserve to have a key player not able to play for them against Liverpool as well. Leeds gave us a hell of a game, the first game of the season last year, and then I think we drew with them as well late on. So I think it might be like 1-1 or something like that. The first game of the season last year was 4-3 to Liverpool, a hat-trick for Salah on the opening day of the season. I think it's going to be a highly frenetic, really, really tricky battle against Leeds. And I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. Like, I am nervous because of the threats that they do pose with their pressing, and how highly intense they can play. It depends if they manage to get it all clicking. And if they do fire on all cylinders, they can make it really difficult and suffocate opponents. When you've got two high intensity teams coming up against each other, it could end up quite end to end like the first game of the season last year, or it could be a little bit of a stalemate, which was the draw that we had last year as well. So for me, obviously, I'm hoping that we get the win. I want us to win as many games as possible, as early as possible as well, to sort of, I don't think the likes of Tottenham, Chelsea, United, and United especially powered with Ronaldo as well, and also Man City, I don't think any of these teams are going to slow down whoever they come up against, and we need to be the same. We need to be the same and be part of that chasing pack of the Premier League, for the Premier League as well. So I'm looking forward to the game. How do I think that Liverpool are going to go down in this one? I'm gonna be honest. I think it could be close. I think it's going to be like a 2-1 to Liverpool. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being a draw or like a much, much closer affair than anything else we might have seen so far this season because of how Leeds play. And some people might think I'm giving Leeds too much respect, but I've watched them play. I've watched them beat teams I didn't think that they would beat. I think they were down to 10 men last season against Man City and beat them 2-1 or something. I think Stuart Dallas or something like that scored. Whoever it was anyway. They are a very good team. They're a well-drilled team that sometimes they will die on their sword, whether it happens or not, like whether it goes for them. I think they lost 6-2 last year against Man United by trying to go for it in some ways as well, and they were just out-qualitied, if that is a word, which I don't think it is. But anyway, regardless of any of that, I'm going for 2-1 Liverpool. Let me know what you think in the comments below about this game and about the whole thing with the whole Brazilian FA and all that sort of stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments below. How do you think this game is going to go down for Liverpool at the weekend? Let me know it in the comments. Thank you ever so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do like it and subscribe if you're new around here. Thank you once again, and I'll catch you later.